Do a brief presentation and give you an overview of the program. I assume that some people in the room maybe already took a look at the website and have a little bit of a sense of what the certificate offers, but it is very flexible, and it is all about tailoring a program to you, to your needs and your professional and creative goals. So there's a lot to say about how you can craft that for yourself. I am the director of the program. I'm also faculty in the film, video, and photography departments at MassArt. I'm an alum of MassArt's MFA program in film and video, so I've been around the institution for quite a while. And it was just such a pleasure to launch this program and to bring these classes to a wide audience. So I'm excited to chat with you about them this evening. I'm just going to pull up Google Slides for you guys. Okay, Joe and Jackie, do you have my presentation? Does that look okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
it looks good.
I saw you nodding, Jackie. Thank you. Okay, so the Digital Media Certificate Program, let's talk through it a little bit. Our classes are 7 weeks long, and those classes meet once per week. They generally happen in the evenings on weekdays, so you'll have classes meeting 6 to 9 or 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But we do occasionally run some classes on the weekend days as well, and that would usually be weekend late mornings, early afternoons. Those are far less frequent. All required classes, so anything in the sort of core list of classes that we'll talk a little bit about tonight, are offered completely online or remotely. And so anyone can complete this program from anywhere. Don't need to be in the Boston or New England area, but we do have some elective classes that are non-requirements that are open. If anyone joining us this evening is in the Boston area, there are some options available to you for on-campus classes for electives as well. Um, we have an opt-in process, and so Joe mentioned that he manages the admissions for PCE, but it really is about opting in and beginning your advising process rather than going through any kind of lengthy admissions process to start the program. And so you can do that by taking a single class or two to get started and get a sense of whether MassArt and the program and the way that we manage things is right for you. Or you can opt in right away during your first registration of your first class. So if you really know that this is the right fit for you and you want to get moving with your advising and starting to plan your pathway, then you can opt in right away when you register for your first class. Very flexible, as I said at the beginning, class and program planning. So we'll look at some course sequences, some class sequences rather this evening, that talk through the order of operations and what you take when you start, depending on the skill set and background that you bring with you. But you can absolutely tailor this program to you. We have many students who've come through the program who are really brand new to their area of study, and others who have a fairly extensive background in making of one kind or another and are maybe looking to update skill sets or branch off into a new area. We really pride ourselves at MassArt and in the digital media certificate on offering individualized feedback from faculty and peers. So you may see many similar types of classes online that are sometimes fully asynchronous or not offered in real time. We really have flexible classes. We often record our class material, our lectures and demonstrations, but we do like feedback and critique and getting that kind of feedback on the work that you're making from both your peers in your classes as well as your faculty. And the program also offers one-on-one advising. It's really one of the main differences between just taking a la carte classes individually and taking the leap and opting into the program and beginning the full program sequences. The minute that you opt in, that will trigger an email from Joe, and then in turn an email from me when we'll schedule our first meeting to start talking through what your goals are, what you've been up to, and what you're hoping to do in the program and beyond. The certificate is 8 classes, 8 of those once a week, 7-week classes. And so, depending on your background and your goals, that might be primarily classes that are core requirements. And if you come in with a lot of experience, then maybe you have an opportunity to be taking more elective classes, really kind of crafting something very specialized to you, particularly if you're finding that, if we are finding together that you're able to be exempted from some of those foundational level requirement classes. Um, like I said, you register for a class, and you can decide then whether, as that class goes on, maybe when you come up on your second term of registration that you'd like to enroll, or you can opt in right away. That one-on-one advising, that's really one of the benefits of the program, like I said. We also have an institutional enterprise account for the full Adobe Creative Cloud suite. We use other software as well as the Adobe suite, many of them browser-based or open source software programs. But Adobe, which has gotten more expensive over the years, of course, is something that MassArt offers to all registered students who are currently enrolled in classes. And you get your MassArt email and net ID when you register for class and opt in, which really brings you into the fold of the community, getting announcements of visiting artists and lectures, many of those online and available to a remote audience. And just all of the things that you're hearing about through the MassArt community. And then another benefit of the program as it comes to a close for you is our capstone portfolio class. And so after you finish your required and elective classwork for the certificate, you then cap off your program with a capstone where you choose a faculty you've worked with in one of your other classes, or you work with me as your advisor and program director on finding a capstone mentor who's the right fit for you and the project that you think you want to focus on in that final class. And then you spend that 7 weeks meeting, not always every week, maybe around every other week with your faculty mentor, really developing a project that you can go on to use to apply for jobs, apply for graduate programs, etc. Gallery exhibitions, you name it. So those are the benefits of opting in, including some of, what you get when you opt in rather than taking those individual classes. As you may have seen on the website or heard before, we do offer two main pathways or two main tracks in the digital media certificate program. The first is lens-based media, so that includes both digital photography and digital video. We actually offer some analog photography classes on campus as well, but we really are a digitally focused program and we're open to both still image makers and time-based image makers as well, and any combination of those two. So I teach the photography required classes for the program, so I see many people coming in who have been photographing for years and now they're really looking to up their game or get serious about becoming commercial photographers or exhibiting artists. And I definitely see people who come in and are brand new, really looking to purchase their first camera and get started. Filmmaking, whether that's traditional documentary filmmaking or new technology-based ways of storytelling like 360 video and VR, et cetera. All of these are, under the umbrella of the lens-based side of the certificate. We definitely see the lens-based as well as the other track, the experience design track, as pathways to a degree. So if you're thinking about applying to a graduate program, a 2 or 3 year MFA program, for example, or other grad program, thinking about applying to an undergraduate degree program at MassArt or elsewhere, this is really an opportunity to get up to speed on skills and build a portfolio. I've seen a lot of people come through this side of the program who maybe have been making photography or video content for another job. Here in Massachusetts, we obviously have a lot of people working in higher education, and we've seen a lot of people come through who they're already being asked to take pictures or make videos, and now they really want to sort of understand the skill set behind that. So we see that often. And marketers, people working in marketing and making video content, making still image content is a really key part of that process. So lots of different folks coming through on the lens-based side. I can talk a little bit more about this when we look at the sequence of core classes, but you can do either one or the other on the lens-based side, or you can do a kind of hybrid approach where you're taking some of the video classes and some of the photography classes. On the experience design side, it's such a huge category these days, including things like interaction and web-based design, for people who are looking to get into or update skills in UX or UI design or development. Educators who maybe are already teaching in the arts, and are looking to now, update that digital toolbox as it says. This side of the certificate program also definitely a pathway to a degree. And, for people who want to apply to one of MassArt's graduate programs in design innovation or dynamic media or another program elsewhere, this will really get you up to speed on those skills and developments in the field. Exhibition designers, thinking about design and experiences in real space and time as well. So the experience design side includes not only things that you might think of automatically, like UX, UI, or app development, but also things like interactive and kinetic sculpture. We have an experience design student about to complete her program who's now really thinking about being a toy designer, and sort of leaning more toward the industrial design side of things. She's done a lot of 3D printing, and that kind of design work while here in the program. So also, content creation, marketing, etc. Both tracks really relevant to those people working in that field. So the course sequence, or sequences, we should say, for the digital media certificate begins with foundational level requirements in digital fluency and digital making. I have a slide coming up that gives you the descriptions of those classes if you haven't seen them on the web, and we can talk them through in a little bit more detail. But I will say that many of the students who've come through the program in its first year plus now have been exempted from those foundational requirements. So if you're using a computer every day for work, um, probably if you're under the age of 30, you may already have the skills that would mean that you would get an exemption from at least the first class in digital fluency, which is really just about, streamlining your practice, really understanding the interface of mobile and desktop applications and hardware and software and the relationships that they bear to each other. Whereas digital making is more about, really getting a taste of lots of different ways of working in the creative field digitally. So vector design, pixel-based design, design for 3D, these different ways of working. In that class, you dip your toe into those pools and maybe decide, what it is that you really think you want to do, which is maybe, as some have found, not exactly what they expected when they first opted in. On the lens-based side, you take a sequence of classes. So photographers, you would do your camera class, that's about production, and then the post-production class focuses on Adobe Lightroom Classic and Photoshop, but also just more general sort of methods of lens-based and image-based making. And then there's a video sequence, again, production and post-production separated into two 7-week classes. And then there are many other elective classes that are either in photography or in video, or maybe straddle the two. We have a lot of people now working in stop motion animation, so a little bit of both. And so if you decided that you wanted to do both photography and video, you might take all 4 required classes listed there. Maybe digital making if you are not exempt from that, your capstone, and that would open up a couple of elective classes. If you really wanted to opt yourself into the video, a moving image track of the lens-based side of the certificate, or photography, one or the other, that would open up more elective classes for you if you decided that you didn't want to be taking those other core classes. On the experience design side, before you make the call about the kind of work that you want to make, you start with digital design fundamentals, where you really get sort of the basis of things like color theory and user experience and user interaction, and then get into experience design certificate specifically in the introduction to experience design and then experience design studio classes, which have to do with prototyping and identifying an audience, identifying a problem to solve, and understanding how to create an experience digitally from the ground up. Lots of different elective classes offered on this side, from sculpture to data visualization to generative video. Many, many options there, depending on your professional and creative goals. And then again, the capstone class where you develop a project, work closely with a faculty mentor, and then receive feedback from a small group of people, students, faculty, peers, etc., at the end of that capstone class. Just quickly, the overview. I think we kind of just covered this now, but this is something that is often the first point of discussion when we do that first advising meeting is really what have you been already doing in the digital space? How comfortable are you at sort of navigating different interfaces, et cetera? How many different types of digital making, if any, have you tried prior to your first certificate class? And we decide together what the best pathway is for you, whether it makes sense to exempt you from one or both of those classes based on your background. Oops. And we do in the elective classes that we offer have a lot of overlap here. So I think the electives is where people sort of find their voice and, what it is that they want to kind of hone in on specifically. Certainly that's been where people have been meeting the faculty they really enjoy working with and maybe want to work with for their capstone. So lots of classes that really straddle the two sides of the certificate program and apply to both. And, like I said, depending on your track, you might have space for three of these, you might have space for five elective classes that really allow you to, make a certificate program, craft a program that works for you and the kinds of things that you want to be making. Just including a handful of faculty profiles here, and everyone who's highlighted in the presentation tonight is a faculty member who will be teaching upcoming classes in March. You can begin taking classes at any point in time. Right now, the foundational requirements in digital fluency and digital making are offered in the summer only. So if you're starting there, then you're able to start in May of 2025. But there are elective classes and core classes happening all the time, and all of the faculty featured here are teaching classes in March. So Amia teaching a really fun animation class that's kind of combines analog and digital practices. Very excited to offer for the first time Michael Sheraton's sort of advanced video class, story development and project production for folks who have either taken the video required classes in camera and sound production and post-production and are now really ready to dive into a personalized project, or people who are coming in and just had that experience elsewhere and are, determined with Michael that they're ready to be taking this class. For the second time, Shozab Raza, an alum of MassArt's Dynamic Media graduate program, will be teaching generative design using Touch Designer, which is another program that we offer to people specifically enrolled in that class, very popular class the last time it ran, so back by popular demand. We have Dennis Veronos, lots of alums being employed as faculty here in the digital media certificate. Dennis is teaching a digital drawing for laser cutting class. Right now, just wrapping up a digital design for 3D printing class. He's a fine artist and sculptor, but really, really focused on technology, particularly 3D and 2D design using digital tools. We have Claire Sun, who's teaching art of data visualization for the second time. And we're also excited to offer a professional practices class. So if you've already been making art, maybe you're a analog or sort of tactile process artist, and you're looking to be showing work in galleries, getting out there, applying for jobs, residencies, etc. Yulia's class will prepare you for that process, building a website, marketing yourself as an artist, etc. So this is not a comprehensive list of the electives even being offered in March, but it is a sampling of who our faculty are and the kinds of classes that we offer each term. I think that's what I have for you tonight. As Jackie and Joe mentioned, we're here to take your questions. So anything that you want to get further clarification on or anything that I didn't cover here in the presentation tonight, please throw your question in the chat and we're happy to chat with you about it, from, class related questions, class content, etc.,